Hi everyone, Mr. Everybody here. Just gonna talk about part of this video. This video is about pigeons, and it's called Tough Life Chronicles. And they say pigeons have a tough life. It depends on where they are. It depends on what area they're from, and all the rest. But they do get some major things wrong. So let's have a look.
Pigeons might look harmless, just little birds pecking around in the city. Some people even see them as symbols of peace or treat them like part of everyday life. But behind that calm look, their lives are full of struggles.
The symbol of peace. The symbol of peace is a dove, but pigeons are in the same family as doves. So that's correct. So symbol of peace, and I've got a symbol of peace right out there. Jess, she's fully white, and when she flies through the sky, she lights it up. She really does. You can see her wherever she goes because she is so white that any piece of light bounces right off her, and you can see exactly where she is.
And danger. Birth in the city. You hatch out of your egg and the first thing you see is a mess. No trees, no fresh air, just a dirty ledge on the side of a building. Down below.
Not true. As soon as you hatch out of the egg, it takes at least 12 hours before you start feeding, and your eyes are still closed. So, incorrect. So, yeah, you hatch out of the egg and you can't see. You can't see a thing.
Oh, cars are honking, people are yelling, and sirens never stop. From the second you open your eyes, life is already noisy.
See that nest that they've got that pigeon in there? That is not a pigeon nest. Nope. Sorry, it's not. That's too perfect. It's too perfect, especially for an inner city pigeon. That's crafted by someone, but that's not done by a pigeon. Pigeons, they're pretty good at crafting nests, but they wouldn't go to that elaborate detail unless they needed to. I'm just saying, having lived with them for a few years now.
And stressful. Your nest isn't some soft, cozy home like you see in cartoons. It's basically a messy pile of sticks, trash, and maybe even a piece of plastic your parents grabbed off the street. And you're stuck in there with a bunch of brothers and sisters. Everyone's squished together, all of you screaming at the same time for food.
See, that's the other thing. My pigeons only lay 2 eggs at a time. So there's not a bunch of them in there, just 2 at a time. But, Jess has laid, just this year, she's laid about 10 eggs. When Storm came around, and she paired up with Frankie, then that's the first lot we've had with Storm and Frankie, and once again it's 2 eggs. It's not a bunch of them. It's not like 7. It's not like 3. It's not 4. It's just 2. So everybody gets fed, and plus, my kids don't need to look for food. I put fresh water and food out for them every day. If I need to replace the food during the day, I will. Because, obviously other birds come in and eat their food. So if I need to replace it, I do.
After hours of squeaking and waiting, your parents finally show up with dinner. But don't get too excited. They don't bring worms or seeds like in cartoons. Nope. They just throw up straight from their mouth.
Not true. Pigeons actually produce what's called crop milk. It's not regurgitated food. So, they don't half digest something and then spew it back into their chick's mouth. No, pigeons actually have a separate pocket, which actually produces crop milk. So what they're saying there is not true. So, that's the reason why pigeons grow so fast. It's because they're not getting fed, semi-digested food. They're getting crop milk. Same with like breast milk for a human baby. There's lots of nutrients in it. There's antibiotics in it. There's lots of stuff in it. So, yeah, not true.
Warm, mushy, half-digested food from the street,
Not true.
served fresh from mom or dad's throat. That's pigeon fine dining. But here's the real problem. Your brothers and sisters want it too, and nobody waits their turn. They shove you with their little wings, peck at your head, and jam their beaks in first to slurp up the vomit before you can. If you're weak, you stay hungry. If you're strong, you might grab a few mouthfuls before the rest is stolen. Every meal turns into a little battle. You either shove your way in and fight for the food, or you sit there with...
Once again, that's not true either. Because they actually sit there patiently, and they know when their parent approaches, that's when they start to chirp and carry on. They don't all fight for the same thing. It's like, anyway, so I don't know where this guy's getting his information from, but it's not what I've actually personally witnessed.
an empty belly. And even if you do manage to win, it's never enough. You only get just enough mush to keep breathing and growing, but never enough to feel full.
My pigeons get plenty of food, they get plenty of water, and they do need grit. So they eat some sand and grit as well. But the fact is, their chicks get plenty of food and water, and 6 weeks. So the new chicks that I've got right now, 6 weeks, they'll be flying.
Welcome to life as a pigeon. Life in the nest. You're stuck in the same spot for weeks, and guess what? Pigeons don't do spring cleaning. Nobody's sweeping, nobody's wiping. You're basically sitting in your own poop every...
That is true. Yeah, no one's doing any spring cleaning. They do a little bit. So they will remove some of the twigs and stuff like that and throw them out.
single day. The nest floor turns into a squishy brown carpet, and every time you move, you're stepping in yesterday's mess. It's less...
But that's more for insulation than anything else. Yeah, yes. Are they sitting in their own shit? Yes. But it's more for insulation. It's not, and besides, it doesn't harm the chicks at all. So
home sweet home, and more public bathroom nobody cleans. The smell is awful. Around you, there's old food scraps, piles of poop, and random junk your parents dragged in to build the nest.
I can say there's no old food scraps. Poop, twigs, and whatever they could bind together to make a nest, yes. But there's no food scraps there because that's all been eaten.
One day, you're lying next to a plastic bag. The next day, it's a cigarette butt.
This I have to disagree with. There's no way a pigeon would take a cigarette butt back to the nest. They just wouldn't do it. If one fell into the nest, I'd understand it, but there's no way a pigeon would actually pick one up and take it back to the nest.
That's what counts as fancy furniture in a pigeon home. You're in this dirty little nest until your wings grow strong enough to carry you out. But the second you're ready to try flying, you look up and notice shadows moving in the sky. Hawks. They've been waiting the whole time, like they had your first flight.
Don't really have to worry about hawks around here. But the crows are a problem. But once they leave the nest, once they can fly, the crows aren't a problem. The problem with the crows is when they're squabs, as in like when they're chicks and they're in the nest. So at the moment, I've got to keep a close eye out for crows.
Marked on their calendar. So when the big day comes and you finally flap out of the nest, it's not some happy, look at me, I can fly moment. Nope, it's more like, Please don't let me be somebody's lunch. Your very first flight isn't freedom, it's a chase scene. You're flapping like crazy while a hawk dives at you like it just placed an order for fast food.
The other thing I can tell you about pigeons is they are incredibly maneuverable in the air, even better than a hawk. So yeah, once the hawk does its death dive, that's its whole thing. It comes from a high altitude, it dives down, so it's going fast. But once it flattens out, the pigeon will outmaneuver the hawk. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about that at the moment. At the moment, I've got 2 chicks. So I've got all up 6 birds. See ya. And by the way, it's like they're not my birds. They just hang around because they get free food and free water. See ya.